aid, but first we have a little sneak preview of our grants. Yeah. So Elizabeth is our is our grants manager, and that's what runs our services that we provide to the community for free. And she's going to explain how we can do that. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm actually the grant compliance coordinator, which means I'm not as cool. I'm not a manager like Andrea. I don't give you anyone to manage. I sort of help shepherd the grant process through, and we're a very odd agency. I think there's probably one agency in Texarkana, Texas, is as complicated as we are. Maybe Kansas City, because we cover 2 states and 3 counties. And actually 3 different victimization areas. So am I ready to go, or do I have to talk about my childhood?
You're ready to go.
Like talking about my childhood?
Yeah. Only if you want to.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. In this chair in a safe place. They keep me restrained, and I'm now being videoed. Okay, so we are a very wacky place. I have this fun article I'm going to pass around if anybody wants. You get this. There it is. That talks about the history of the jurisdictional fragmentation of Lake Tahoe and how it started when people wanted to have, or counties wanted to have access to the Comstock book. So we all needed our trip, our little spot of the lake and our little spot of the passes to get back and forth to get money. So, and I'll pass this around. But this is relevant because we're so cut up around here, right? We've got our service area serves Nevada, California, Nevada, Placer, and sometimes El Dorado County in California side, and then in the Nevada side it's Washoe County. Now why is that relevant? Well, we're trying to get money from every single jurisdiction that we can. And we're trying to get money to help all sorts of different things. Sexual assault, domestic violence, child abuse are the main areas. But also, if you have a victim who needs housing, we want housing money, right? So we are trying to get all these different jurisdictions funneled through different government entities down to us. Us, Tahoe Safe Alliance, the largest nonprofit in the Tahoe Basin, but it's not, or North Tahoe, but it's not big compared to like United Way or University of California, some of the big guys. So, the story of grants, remember, okay, am I too old? Remember that Schoolhouse Rock? I'm a Bill.
Yeah, I'm just a Bill.
She can sing. My voice will be done by 15. So in that story of I'm just a Bill, all this funding, all these appropriations came through that process. People had a legislative intent. And they said, we ought to get money for mental health. So some of our money comes from the Mental Health Services Act. And you see this funny little chart, okay? And then on the next pages it explains all the acronyms. But some of our money is mental health money, and that funds prevention. We also had folks who said, you know what, families should not live in violence. So we have family violence prevention money, which will pay for things like helping domestic violence and sexual assault, child abuse, and prevention, which is special. We have social services block grant money that says, here the state of Nevada, here's a chunk of money, you decide how to spend it. We've got Victim of Crime Act money that says, you've got to be a victim of a crime, and we won't spend anything on this long list of stuff, because when Andrea commits a crime and has to pay her fines, that money goes back to the feds to pay for her victims. So this has a lot of restrictions, but it's a good pot of money for us. A lot of our stuff is funded. And then there's Violence Against Women Act. So that's at the federal level. And VAWA will pay for a lot of things. It will pay for domestic violence, it will pay for sexual assault, and it will pay for transitional housing. We also have in the past, we don't have it on this chart because it was already so attractive, some block grant money for CSBG. That is federal block grant money, kind of like the social services block grant, but for housing. And if you look at this little chart underneath, there's a bunch of lines. And these guys will pay for prevention. They will pay for Kate to give her presentations. These guys will pay for domestic violence through here. The two of these, three of them, will pay for child abuse. Let's change colors. Okay? So these guys will pay for child abuse stuff. And these two will pay for sexual assault. Okay, so we're at the federal level. We want to offer all these services. We've got all these pots of money. Well, these pots of money flow through different states. So we want prevention. Okay, so let's, for example, we get VOCA money through the Nevada Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and that money flows down to our NAPA grant. And NAPA used to be GEEP, but they decided to change the acronym. It's a backronym to make it sound like you're sipping wine. Pays for that pays for legal advocacy and advocacy for victims of domestic violence in Nevada. Okay, so let's pull another one. Somebody name a grant at the bottom. Go ahead, pull something out. Just 2 letters.
To chat.
Chat. Okay. So chat is VOCA money that flows through the California Office of Emergency Services, and it pays for child abuse. So we have to be able to disaggregate all the folks we serve by where they live, what their victimization is, and what kind of services they need. So we have a bunch of kids in a children's program that is funded half by CHAT, because they're the California kids, and the other half is social services block grant money through the Department of Health and Human Services down to Title 20. We have to separate supplies. We have to separate activities. I mean, as far as keeping the accounting straight and keeping the numbers straight. This is the Office of Emergency Services, which I can't say anything about because we're being filmed, but they're the emergency people. They have forms like this. They, if you needed to buy a backhoe, they would have the procurement process, right? And they tend to go on deployment, so very, very efficient. These guys, these are the Family Health and Human Services guys. You want to serve somebody who's 18? That's okay. You serve someone who's 18. These guys, you're like, what do you mean? You have to, remit the funds. So we have cultural differences, too, between the different programs. And we have cultural difference between the state of, like, Nevada and California. California, they have beautiful manuals, huge manuals, and processing. And really very complicated progress reports and meetings. Nevada tends to be a little bit more flexible and a little bit like there's no manual. So you're like, oh look, Ernie, Eudora was there when that legislation was written, and go ask her. So it's a fascinating kind of combination, but we are compliant with all our grant requirements and highest standards for everybody. But we have to be able to disaggregate this stuff. One reason why when you're dealing with a crisis line and we're asking, where's your residency? Whose kids, what needs do you have? And you're going to go through a demographic checklist and go, these people are crazy. I have someone in crisis. This is why. This is why. Because if we might get different amounts of funding, depending on how we can bring these together to serve a client. And they might actually have more resources if you can put them in one box versus the other. The other thing I want to talk about is that many of these funding sources, and here I'm thinking of VOCA, have a match requirement. So for every dollar that VOCA gives us, we have to find a quarter, 25% of match. So sometimes we're lucky, and that VOCA money will go to a state entity that will then say, you know what, we're going to make your match. But you have to, with this other state money, but you have to pay 10%. For the state money has a match. You know, bless your heart. That's why we have such a little match in OESD, right? But that same VOCA money in a different grant, okay, so this is domestic violence. This is probably our biggest grant, right? This same VOCA money goes to OES to the children's program. And the children's program says, you have to give us, you have to find a quarter, 25% of this money. You have to come up with that to add on to the program. And if you don't, you have to pay back 4 times. Yeah. So this makes it hard for us because the grant, in order to be matched, it has to be something the grant would have paid for. So we have, our program person has wanted kayaks forever. And I'm like, well, the grant's not going to pay for kayaks. And so even if you get kayaks, they're not going to meet my match. So I'm not going to advocate for your kayaks. But how do we make that match? You guys. You're my match angels. Okay? Because every hour you spend in here being trained, that's you're giving up your time. And every hour you spend with the children's program, you fill out a timesheet. See, I'm the source of all the annoying things you're going to have to do, right? So you're going to have a timesheet, and we're going to put a dollar value on that. If we had to hire someone to do what you did, so if you happen to be a lawyer or a juggler or a neuroscientist, let me know, because we'll try to value your time, right? I get bios on people. So say if we get $175,000, right? We have to come up with a quarter of that. That's a lot of hours. So every hour you come in here, you're helping us be able to have the children's program. So that's my story. I can be happy to answer questions, or we can trace any of the funding streams, because I don't want to overload you. But my 2 things are, thank you so much taking the time to disaggregate data and get all that demographic information. Because if we charge the wrong grant, it's fraud. They're not like, oh, okay, so sometimes we get it. Like, oh, you can serve an 18-year-old. We love you. That's partially, block grant money is more flexible. But a lot of it is you will have this report and there will be, nothing charged. And the states get real jealous of each other. They don't want anything to do with Nevada and California and vice versa. But the other thing is, every hour you spend, you're making the whole program possible. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a match story and my match angels.
So who's confused on this Tuesday?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So what is TXS XX?
Okay, so this is Title
what is
20.
it? Title 20.
And so in here, if you look at this little packet, you have the funding packet. And then it starts with the federal funding source. I'm just a bill, right? And then it goes down to our Nevada state funders. And I think this is still accurate. So these guys down here, Nevada VOCA, that is through the Division of Family and Child and Family Services in Nevada. And that is originally VOCA money over here. So, and then it goes through California. So all the acronyms are explained. I was going to say, there is something funny. Sometimes, a little dark, not that I'm known for being dark, but we have county funding. So sometimes we have money that flows through a county. For example, we get Mental Health Services Act money that goes to the California Department of Public Health. And that we get a direct grant from them for C2H. We also get another grant that just goes through, that's through Placer County. So we track like what county, what school is this being offered in. So we have to be very careful about that. But we also get a little bit of money from marriage licenses. So if you see ML, when you go to buy your marriage license, there's a little bit that's taken away for domestic violence. So It's a funny little thing. So we get Nevada County marriage license, we get Placer County marriage license, and we get Marshall County marriage license. It's a very small amount of money, but it makes a big difference because a lot of times the federal grants will not pay for people like your grant coordinator. They'll pay for direct service staff, but they won't pay the full cost of the accounting for all this or the record keeping. So that always puts us in a tricky wicket, trying to, a lot of times we fundraise for those dollars to pay for overhead because we're not as much fun as cute kids. Any other questions?
Sorry, you have another question?
Sorry, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but you did mention Kansas City, which is an area that I've been studying. So is there a reason why they have struggles that you would like to?
No, but I want to meet someone in Kansas City. Actually, I know a grant manager there that I want to reach out to because who deals with 2 states?
You guys do.
We do, and so I'm thinking it's probably, because I've asked it, well, nobody else seems to deal with this issue when we go to grant meetings. How do
like DC and Virginia area.
Right,
Like
there's-
that area, DC, Baltimore, and Virginia, they're all.
They're right. We have to find, I want to
They
start a
would,
club.
definitely.
Yeah.
Exactly, statewide grant managers.
Can you talk about what our budget is?
Okay, we have about 1.7 million in total. Pretending to be European. And we have more California funding than Nevada funding. Nevada just has less of a population, and so we're really always doing, just trying to keep this side, to provide those services. And we tend to have more funding in California. California, a lot of times, like the OES grants will offer grants in about 4 sizes. You know how when you get the small, medium, large, extra large, they never seem to quite fit. So sometimes we end up getting grants that are just a little too big for us, and we say it's important for us to offer these services, but we just don't have the population. And sometimes we get grants that are a little too small, and we're trying to cover up. So, sorry, I'm being filmed.
Okay, so federal, you don't have to deal with interstate.
That's a great point.
What percentage is?
So we just got our first federal grant that's directly bought. Well, we haven't really started implementing it. And that's for a new transitional housing program. Because these are always running in different cycles, right? So some of these grants are 1-year grants, some of them are 3-year or 4-year grants. So this transitional housing grant that comes to us in Nevada through the coalition is just ending this month. And we got our first federal grant directly from the Office of Violence Against Women for transitional housing. We applied through Nevada. We said we're going to serve Nevada. And part of that is, a lot of times we're competitive for funding because we're the only service provider in a rural area. And so I would like to see us negotiate later on to see if we could get a grant, if we've been a successful grantee, to serve like the border area. Because federal grants do that a lot of times for Indian, various tribal entities or tribal governments. So they've done it before, but we felt like we were more competitive in the California side, the Nevada side. And I used to live and work in Fresno, California, which is a city of 500,000 with enormous poverty. So we could always say we're the poorest, right? We had the highest concentrated poverty, right, the Brookings Institution. We can always say, look, we've got census tracts with 2/3 of the population having less than a 5th grade education. But in Tahoe, we say we're the only ones out here. And people need it more remote, more isolated. So it's a very, different argument.
Strategy.
Yes, there's that part.
So Elizabeth is the one that figures all out this mess and keeps us sane in the office. She does a great job, and I want to thank you for coming in today. If anybody ever wants to help her out in grants, let me know.
Great. Well, thank you guys. I know Kate will be more amusing, so.
All right, thank you.
Sorry I'm not as funny as Elizabeth. So this, who remembers who this is?
Algae.
This is algae. We're gonna pass around algae, and I want you to say one self-care activity you're going to do this week. So, what am I going to do? I'm gonna go to the florist studio tomorrow evening, which is you guys know like the silks, aerial fabrics.
Oh yeah.
So that's super fun. Yeah.
Cool.
Self-care activity. At some point this week.
Maybe to make a mask for my face.
Ooh, very nice.
I'm actually gonna go to Reno and buy all the stuff for my daughter's birthday party. So
Nice. Does she want a theme?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Fun
doing
theme.
it at Frida Kahlo.
Oh, nice.
That's very cool.
I'm gonna go to dinner with my best friend that's visiting from New York this week.
I'm gonna have a day off on Saturday or Sunday, not sure. Oh, it has to be Saturday because I already booked something.
No booking anything on Saturday.
Yeah, I hope.
I signed up for 5 weeks of spin class, so it starts on Fridays.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah, it's intense for me.
I'm going to have a day off with my kiddos and my husband and hopefully go play around if this nonsense stops interfering.
I'm gonna snowboard. The nonsense.
I am going to Florida on Sunday.
Wow.
Where in Florida?
West Palm Beach. We're gonna go watch some spring training baseball. So I'm super excited.
That sounds fun. I'm gonna repot my plants. I just bought a huge bag of soil the other day, and they need to be repotted. They're gonna die if they don't.
They're gonna die. I'm probably gonna snowboard depending on the weather. If not, I'll read a book.
I'm going to start my running routine again since I'm finally not sick. So, love when you get over getting sick. I know. You're like, oh, I'm so healthy. Yeah. What about you, Brian?
I'm at work all weekend, non-stop, but the videography side is self-care for me because I enjoy doing it. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool.
Cool. All right, so today we're wrapping up mental health first aid. The way it's laid out is it goes through the action plan for a variety of crises. So panic attacks, traumatic events, looking at anxiety, other anxiety symptoms, acute psychosis. So what you might see if somebody is
Extra card.
yes, I do.
You'll be half certified.
Yeah. Let's see. Here you go. Other situations that you would use the action plan. If you were to witness somebody experiencing psychosis or disruptive or aggressive behavior, and an overdose, withdrawal symptoms, and if you suspect someone has a substance use disorder. With that said, when we are in a situation that we might need to use mental health first aid, we're not going to take any time trying to figure out, oh, this person could be suffering from depression, or oh, this person most likely has anxiety, so this is how I'm going to treat them, or this is how I'm going to approach them. That you might, make some of those decisions quickly, but the main goal is really just to make sure that person's safe and kind of go through the action plan, the algae, just however you feel is going to be helpful for that person. So we're going to take a look at some of the differences, how you might approach someone differently based on what they're experiencing, but it's all very similar. So some of the symptoms that someone might be in crisis, is kind of overlaps with these specific scenarios, but that's just how the program is laid out. So I'm going to try to also move through this quickly. There's not a lot of activities in here, which is kind of a bummer. If this was a curriculum that I developed, there'd be activities the whole time. So the first part of the action plan is A, assess for risk of suicide or harm. So the most common crisis for anxiety would be panic attack or reaction to a traumatic event. Here's just, can everyone see these symptoms of a panic attack? Has anyone experienced or have seen somebody experiencing a panic attack? So what does that look like?
They start shaking.
Shaky, yeah. Sweating.
Or hair.
Heart racing, yeah. Yeah, I mean that's, what might be going inside someone's mind?
Racing.
A lot of everything. Yeah, racing thoughts, yeah. So, and then, yeah, fear of dying, or some other, fear, chills or hot flashes. So your body's just kind of experiencing, it's all out of whack. And so if you were to witness somebody who looked like they were, having a panic attack, the first thing right away is you want to express your concern. I guess here I'll say it depends on your relationship with this person. If it's a random person just off the street, you might approach them differently than you would, say, like a coworker. But, it's up to you. It's, your safety comes first. If you don't feel safe or you don't feel like it's your place, don't feel bad for not intervening, but if you can, definitely, we encourage you to do something, even just asking them, hey, are you all right? Can I help you in any way? Can I call someone for you? Something like that. You can ask them if if they know what's happening. I guess you don't want to assume. Don't say, oh, I think you're having a panic attack. But if you say, hey, you know what's going on? You seem a little distressed. They might say, yeah, I'm having a panic attack. I know this happens, this happens a lot or whatever. So you can check for medical alert bracelet, seek medical assistance. You can reassure them, basically, if you might be having a panic attack, do you want to sit down? It's only going to be, a few minutes. Typically they don't last more than 10 minutes. And yeah, asking if you can help. Definitely you want to remain calm. I guess really, I think what would be helpful in this moment is if you've witnessed or experienced a panic attack, what do you think would be helpful?
Speaking slowly and clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. If someone was having a panic attack and you approach them like, okay, I know what to do. Okay, you gotta calm down. That's not gonna help anyone calm down. So you gotta remain calm and just really balance their energy out.
Do you need to bring the breathing down? Because when you're breathing out here, then you do get lightheaded and tingly and all that other stuff. So it's like you gotta bring the breathing into, so you can practice this together.
Definitely. That's definitely something that people have said is that you can say like, okay, match my breathing pattern and, take deep breaths. Sometimes that's helpful. Definitely. Yeah, being patient.
What's the breathing in the paper bag for?
Oh yeah, mental health first aid says not to do that.
That's like hyper.
That's a really common thing though. Like I'll see it on like TV shows or like
I know.
I don't know.
It does right. I've done that.
I think it's supposed to slow your breathing.
Oh, so
cycle.
you're supposed to slow it down. I thought it was like concentrating on just to help you concentrate on your breathing. But
Well, it's supposed to help regulate it so that if the person has gotten to the point where they can't breathe anymore and they're about to have their air supply cut off, then you start the bag because they're looking at it and they can feel their breath go in and out.
yeah.
So get them to calm down to just get their breathing back to slightly normal.
Yeah, and it's like a visual.
Right.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay.
And you have something on your hand.
So, I don't know. We don't really.
No brown paper bag.
Yeah, we don't advocate for that. But if that's someone that works, if that's something that person knows works for them, might as well let them do it. I guess.
I mean, does mental health per se touch on anything about how to get somebody's breathing back down to semi-normal? No.
They don't. No. They just say, remain calm, use short sentences, speak slowly, which kind of implies just this calmer interaction.
Seems like like what she was saying, and belly breathing and
Yeah.
trying to fill your belly with your breath would be, kind of a parallel to the paper bag.
Yeah, definitely.
Called Buddha breathing.
Yeah.
Good breathing.
That's
Yeah, and avoid expressing your own negative reactions. Okay, now we're doing, so that was all panic attack. Now it's how to help if someone's reacting to a traumatic event. That's what this slide is. So, really it's about, asking that person what they need. You're just noticing that something's off, someone's not okay, they're not their usual self, and you're just there, what can I do for you? How can I help? I see that you're concerned. I want to help you. What does that look like for you? I can, just talk to me.
What if they need you to go away
Yeah,
and you just do?
sure. So it depends. Well, I guess it also depends on the situation. Because if you are concerned for their safety, you can say, yeah, I'll give you some space, but I don't want to leave you alone because I'm really concerned. I just want to make sure that you're okay. Is there someone else I can call for you, or are you more comfortable with someone else? Something like that. If you really don't think they should be alone. Yeah, good question. Yeah, sometimes people just need space. But yeah, it just depends on the person. Seek professional help if needed, especially if someone's reacting to a traumatic event. If after 4 more weeks someone's still having these reactions, then it's really, we want to encourage them to seek professional help, because, otherwise it might just continue to go on, and they might be having these symptoms that's disrupting their life. So relationships might start suffering, it might start interfering with work, and other, your social life, things like that. So it's really important to get some professional help, especially if you start noticing that it's really disrupting their life. I'm gonna skip through that. So here's an old poster. Actually, is it a real poster? I don't even know if it's a real poster. But what does this say about psychosis?
Scary.
Yeah. What is it saying about maybe somebody who has those symptoms? Dangerous.
And they've got devil teeth or something, so it's
Yeah. Yes, it's unnatural.
Yeah.
Bad parents.
Bad parents, untreatable. They're blaming parents. Monsters, yeah. Even though this is an old poster, do you think there's some, movies out there that perceive or that kind of show a negative side to someone with mental health?
Sure.
Mental
Interrupted was one of the most popular when I was impressionable. Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. And what was her condition? What is she?
I don't remember.
Yeah. But she was in a psych ward and I don't really remember.
No, someone got admitted that didn't want to be there, and then she couldn't really get out. Yeah.
Oh, what was,
And
is
then
it
they escaped together.
Changeling?
Yeah,
something
she
with
played
this
a few movies.
There's a few of them, but one of them, she gets stuck in this crazy mental health ward.
Yeah.
I think of American Horror Story, and they had a whole season on being in a mental ward, a journalist in a mental ward, and just how they portray different people in there. Mental wards, I've always been portrayed as super scary. You're never getting out once you get in.
Yeah.
Kind
The
of
genre is
things.
always horror.
Yeah.
Well, then there's Selma and Louise, where they're the heroes who drive off the cliff at the end.
Right. Yeah. So that's just, yeah. You know, we talked a little bit yesterday about the stigma around mental illness and, like schizophrenia and even bipolar disorder. Sometimes those have a even more negative connotation than anxiety or depression. And it's, because of media such as this that kind of perpetuates that, people who are schizophrenic are dangerous criminals and they could, stay away from them type of thing.
Untreatable.
And untreatable is on there too, right? Yeah. So what is psychosis? It's a symptom that's associated with mental illness. And so someone read this slide.
Psychosis is a condition in which a person has lost some contact with reality. The person may have severe disturbances in thinking, emotion, and behavior. Disorders in which psychosis can occur are not as common as depression and anxiety disorders. Psychosis usually occurs in episodes and is not a constant or static action condition.
Yeah, so someone isn't in that state 24/7. It's in episodes. And so we're going to talk more about what the symptoms are here. Let's see. So you might see somebody, if someone's mood is changing, or energy and motivation. That's when you might notice that something's going on. They might need some help. I would say suspiciousness is common because they could be hearing something or they have this belief about something that's kind of an odd idea and just like suspicious behavior and just kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like paranoid is pretty common with having experiencing psychosis. So they're thinking because they're kind of experiencing in this alternate reality, their thought process kind of changes. They have difficulty concentrating on what's happening right in front of them because they're thinking about something else that's kind of interfering with their senses. So they're seeing something or hearing something that's not really there that could really mess up your sense of reality. Which then could really disrupt your sleeping pattern. You might not want to talk with people because, again, like going back to like being paranoid and having these distractions, it might be difficult to hold conversations. It's just a lot going on at one time. And sometimes it leads to not being able to carry out these daily activities and going to work because you're so consumed by this experience. So these are some of the disorders in which psychosis occurs. Yeah?
I'm just wondering if it could maybe sometimes look like someone who's dissociated, or is it more than that too? It sounds like it could look like that as well.
Mm-hmm. Just disassociated?
Like yeah.
That's a good question. I'm not sure actually.
There's like autism. In some cases, like a mild autism. Odd idea seems subjective.
Yeah.
But
right.
that
So
lady
those
in the
are
video last night, she was in psychosis, right? Or was that just depression?
depression. Yeah. Let's see. So.
Well, can you go back one to
Being social, like how you're interacting with somebody. So like if you're just like not engaged, or you have like, I guess the way you socialize is maybe odd. Is that what you're saying? I don't know if that's psychosis. Is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, or like if someone's dissociated? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. I think we're talking about different things.
I've just like seen people before that are, you know, talking about their traumas and they kind of like will get disassociated because like it's traumatic.
Yeah.
And some of the things that are on there kind of seem like some of the things that I've seen, and I'm just wondering if they could look very similar.
So
And
that's a
maybe
really good
I don't-
question, and I think that so actually I'm understanding now.
Okay, sorry.
And yeah, and it might look really similar, but psychosis is actually when you're not in reality. So when you're disassociating, you're like something actually happened. So you're being you're triggered by something that actually happened, and thinking of something that actually happened. This is more about believing something that's not true.
Okay.
In an altered reality.
In an alternate.
Well, no, I understand that for them, but for
Yeah.
us, if we're like looking at it, it's like,
Sure.
is it going to be different?
It might look similar. Yeah.
Josh, did you have something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, kind of how I'm thinking about it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like, disassociating from something is you're no longer like wanting to think about or like relate to what happened, but the areas you are still relating to are very like realistic and grounded. Like somebody who's experiencing psychosis, their reality is not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
So you're kind of like shutting down
Right.
versus experiencing something completely different.
Okay.
Right. I had a friend that experienced drug-induced psychosis.
Yes.
I'll
Yep.
remember that, but like the things that he was saying about the world and about himself, they just did not make sense in our reality at all. Yeah.
But that's a really good point. Is like, what would you see, and how how that would look different, and I guess maybe it would just be more like.
Sometimes it's like gibberish too. Like their brains will be thinking all of these thoughts at a way faster pace, but when they speak it, like their mouth can't keep up with how many thoughts are going through their head, so they're gonna say like whatever their brain can get actually out, and it makes sense to them because they can hear their own thoughts. But to you, it sounds like what the heck? Yeah.
You can't follow them, and yeah.
It's kind of reminding me of a homeless person who is saying the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
And it probably was a traumatic event at some point, but they just are stuck in that time.
Well, it might be that because I see that too. You know, so like in bigger cities, you kind of notice people will be talking to themselves, and maybe you hear like they're really repetitive. Maybe on the subway, that's happened. You know, to me, I've noticed people who I think have some sort of mental health problem, and you know, I don't know what it would be, but it seems like some sort of alternate reality, like just kind of talking to themselves, and you know, they just weren't able to get treatment, and so it's maybe just gotten worse and worse and worse. So who knows what the cause of it was, but that's what it could look like, definitely. So some of the disorders that are associated with psychosis are these are the most common ones. And you had mentioned drug-induced psychosis. So more about schizophrenia. That's when someone is having delusions or hallucinations, disorganized speech, kind of what you were talking about, Catherine, and disorganized behavior. There could also be loss of drive and blunted emotions, so kind of just not reacting to things that how someone would normally or typically react, and being socially withdrawn. Some of these symptoms associated with bipolar disorder, so having a manic episode, being in that high, and if they're having, so this is feeling unusually high, so it could be that someone's bipolar and they're going from the manic state to the depressed state, and then this would be kind of unusual, it's very more extreme than normal, or than what's typical for that person, and just bigger ideas, overactivity, not sleeping, racing thoughts, talking fast, impaired judgment, so just kind of just impulsiveness. And this slide is really just talking about, you know, why we do want to intervene, especially if it's someone that we know, friend or family member, because, you know, without early intervention, it could get worse and worse. There's lots of, I wish Joe was here, because I bet he could talk about what that might look like, but here's just some ideas of, you know, or some things that happen without intervention. And really just, you know, when you intervene and you want to intervene as early as possible when you start seeing those smaller symptoms, because the earlier someone gets treatment, the earlier they're able to like manage their illness.
What kind of treatment? Is there all different kinds, or is it very specific?
Yeah, well, depending on the illness, with schizophrenia, I know it's very common to have medication involved because it is more of a, I guess.
It's a brain chemistry thing.
Yeah, so there's more of a, balancing out the chemicals in your brain treatment versus, you know, depression might be more behavior-based treatments. I don't know, but I guess people with depression also take medication as well. So it really just depends on the person, the age of the person, to when they, and the comfort level of the person, what they want to do. So.
Yeah, because don't some people say who are in these states that then they get dulled, but maybe dulled is not used to that too.
Yeah. Well, and actually it's a big problem with people who, I know just with schizophrenia specifically, is they then want to stop taking their medication altogether because they start having ideas about what the medication is doing to them, and they want to just like, you know, they're, you know, just kind of being very stubborn about it and like don't want to, they think that it's bad for them, or, you know, they just, I think there's like a term for it, but basically when someone is in this state of mind, they might not want to do what is in their best interest just because they're not thinking straight or
About taking medicine?
Yeah.
Also, when you think about it, like, you have all these different things that are going on, alarms going off in your body and your head. Taking medicine maybe twice or 3 times a day at set times where you need to take them is, I mean, even hard for me.
Yeah.
You know, as somebody who I think doesn't suffer from mental illness, but it's hard to keep on, you know, that track. And I can't even imagine for those who do at least get access to having those meds, trying to keep them all straight and what times to take them and things like that. So it's really tough.
With or without food.
With or without food, yeah, like you have so many different factors contributing to it.
So yeah, I mean, I guess when it comes to like medication, you know, that's really up to the professional to decide everything. It's tough because this is, you know, again, this is a mental health first aid class, so it's good to know people's options and like talking about whether they want medication or they think that they're interested in having medication or not. It's good to talk about that, but ultimately, you know, that's a conversation with the professional, with the
But we don't make diagnoses
psychiatrist.
either. You know,
Yeah,
we
exactly.
just know what the signs are, so you know how to give them proper help. You know what a psychiatrist is. Psychiatrist is somebody who can do medicine.
Right.
So you would refer them to that.
Well, another thing too is this last bullet: greater chance of problems with the law. Police officers are getting more and more training on how to deal with a mental health crisis call. So there's just different approaches, you know, to someone who's suffering from a mental illness versus someone who is a violent criminal and being aggressive and everything. So it's two different responses. And police officers are typically trained to deal with the aggressive behavior and not as much with a person with mental illness. So, which is great that they're getting more training.
I feel like it could gives them more safety too as well if you know how to react to certain things, because somebody who's going through psychotic episode, putting in handcuffs or contained or things like that can seem like one of the worst things that you can do. And so it's great that they're getting that kind of training.
Yeah.
They can keep themselves safe as long and that person safe at the same time.
Yeah. So let's see. What's that first A?
Assess.
Suicide.
Or self-harm.
Yeah. Good. Oh, L. What's next? And next?
Encourage.
Good. Appropriate professional help. Keyword appropriate. Don't refer them to a dentist. And the last one. And other support strategies. Yeah. Good. Let's see. What we're gonna do right now is let's see. One second. Okay. I'm almost there.
Yeah, it's interesting that increasing awareness for the mentally ill, like starting back the mental hospitals and all that. I mean, in the city, there's pretty much mentally ill people walking around everywhere.
Yeah.
In terms of the homeless population, and like you're saying, that creates a mental illness when you don't have a home.
Sure.
And then we have like all these foreclosed homes that the bank owns and no one can afford. So it's like balancing out our resources could help them a lot.
I know, and every time I do this course, we always end up talking about, just societal problems, and it's so hard because there's so much that needs to be done. Yeah.
Our country does not support mentally ill people.
Right.
They won't even, sometimes they won't even acknowledge certain things.
Yeah.
Right.
And if they do acknowledge certain things, they're just using the word mentally ill, and they're not actually putting funding or solutions or things like that. Mental health services are so expensive. Ridiculously expensive for people who do have homes and jobs and things like that. And it just seems like a lost cause sometimes, because you're just like, these people don't care about other people.
Right, we'll just talk about...
And your brain is the thing that runs everything.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So if your brain is sick, how do you get help if nobody will help you?
Right, a homeless person who gets a home and then willingly goes back to being homeless. It's kind of the other side of that coin too. Services not being available or not sought.
Right. I think of somebody that goes, let's take the homeless population, somebody doesn't have a place to stay. They go get a place to stay. It only lasts for a month or so for them. It's because they might be suffering from mental illness or substance abuse or something like that. Let me tell you something. Every person on this earth wants to have a home. That's just it. It's not homeless people. They chose that life. That's what it is. It's just people suffer from mental illness, and there are some small services out there that can help people, but it doesn't address the whole picture to sustain them in it.
Does that also come to self-worth and stuff? If you're not feeling strong as a human and life sucks, I don't deserve this. This other person should, so I may back out.
Or you don't want to be a burden on anyone. Yeah. And I'll just be on my own, and no one will have to worry about me. I'm just me. It is very sad. But we're going to get back to this activity. And this is, I know. So really, I guess the heart of this mental health first aid training is to spark conversations like this. I don't want to get too off track. but just developing more empathy around people with mental illness, because it is more common than we think, and it's a huge problem. So if we can have these conversations, I think that's great. So, but yeah, I guess focusing today and finishing up this class, just understanding how to help someone who is currently in crisis, or you might be recognizing some signs where they could be in crisis. So this next activity is just to understand what it might be like for somebody to experience an auditory hallucination. So what I'm gonna have you guys do is in groups of 3, one person, 2 people are gonna be having a conversation, just talk about how your day was, or something you're looking forward to, or whatever you want to talk about. And while the 2 people are having a conversation, a 3rd person is going to roll up this script, take someone else's script, and basically in someone's ear whisper what's on the script. So you're whispering in someone's ear as they're having a conversation with someone else, just to see what it's like to be kind of like the distracted feeling, and what it looks like when someone is distracted. So is anyone, and you don't have to do this activity, you don't want to? Does anyone not want to? All right, so then in your groups of 3, you can decide what part you want to be. So we'll have you 3 as a group, you 3 as a group.
Do you think there's enough time for this to all have?
1, 2, 3.
Play the different cards?
Yeah, if you want, I'll give you guys some time if you guys want to all
You guys probably want to get up, maybe.
Yeah, you can get up.
Stand up. Person roll up. Up there. Perfect. I can't get in there. Whispering.
Preferences? I'll whisper first. You were first.
No, it doesn't matter. Go ahead, you whisper.
Alright.
Well,
You'll need 2, so.
what'd you do?
I just worked.
Where do you work?
North Star. Do you work at Star?
No, not anymore.
Oh, but you did.
I used to. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very strange.
Very straight.
Yeah. No, I don't know why I used to do that.
So where are you working now?
Why would she want to know this information? Yes, she's looking at me.
Why would you want to talk about this? Where do you work right now? Stop moving, go your left. I don't like it.
Alright, switch. Yeah.
I just felt like it was really overwhelming. Like, working as a server and a bartender I'm like, find myself often being like, hold on a second, guys, I can't talk and listen to all 10 of you at once. Okay, so we'll start over here. But like, I couldn't do that in that situation. So like, it was pretty overwhelming. Like, not having any control over that, or being able to be like, stop this. Okay, now you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Like.
And on top of that, one thing that really always stands out to me is the things that people usually hear when they're having hallucinations are not positive things. They're not, you look so good today. They're not, they're like, why are they looking at you? What are you can't trust them, right? These are things that are like messing with your mind and like creating like more, anxiety and like,
Something else off of the topic that you're talking about, or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, it's like totally distracting and negative, and you can't, if you're experiencing it, you can't get away. And this video does a really good, it's hard to, this activity, we only can get a little taste of it, and even with this video, we can only get a taste of it. We don't really know what it's like, and it's different for everybody. But this video is just another way of showing what it might be like. You can kind of just imagine. Yeah.
Stop. I'm gonna shut it down. What now? I'm gonna shut up! No. No, just. I don't know. What? Who? Who's what? No, it's not. What? No, Dan. No! Yeah. I don't want to. I don't want to.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Diana.
You know Peter pretty well, don't you?
Yeah, pretty well. Help out when I can. Why?
I was walking past his place and I could see him through the window. I thought he was arguing with someone, but I don't think there was anyone there.
Are you sure he wasn't on the phone?
Yeah, I could see him through the window. He was just pacing around. He looked really upset. I don't know what's going on with him. I was going to pop in and make sure everything was okay, but I thought he might get mad with me or something.
So you didn't knock?
No. He looked really pissed off. I thought I'd come tell you. Do you think we should go see what's going on?
Yeah, probably a good idea. Yeah. I'll just go and grab a keys. You want to dump your stuff?
Oh, cool, thanks. Hi, Peter. Are you okay?
Hi, Peter. Is everything okay? I haven't seen you for a while. You seem a bit upset.
What are you doing here? What do you want?
Well, you just seem a bit stressed, and we thought we'd come and have a talk.
Yeah, I suppose. What do you want to talk about?
Well, it's a lovely day. Why don't we go and sit out on the veranda and have a cup of tea and have a talk?
No, it's not safe. You come inside.
Peter, we're your friends. We wouldn't bring you outside if it wasn't safe.
No. I'm staying right here. I'm staying here.
We've had some lovely afternoons on your veranda, haven't we? Remember when I first got Jessie, when she was a pup? We sat out here and we drank tea and she licked your jeans.
Yeah, but it's different. Yeah.
Well, what if you sit in this chair that's closest to the door, and then if you don't feel safe, you can come back inside?
No, I don't know.
Please, Peter. We care about you. We just want to have a talk. You can come back inside if you want to.
Okay, just come just leave the door open. Just-
Yeah. What are you looking at, Peter?
They're watching me.
Who's watching you?
I think it's cops. Because they're the only ones who've got keys to my house. They're putting thoughts in my head. They keep talking to me and talking and talking. I can hear them all the time.
But what, Peter?
Could be them. Could be aliens.
Aliens? I don't think so.
But you don't know anything. Are you a cop? If you're a cop, you've got to tell me. You have to tell me.
Yeah, I'm a cop.
Get out now. Go. You go, Lauren. Who sent you?
Diana's joking.
That's not funny. That's not funny. How would you feel about a cop's coming in here without a warrant?
I'm sorry, Peter. I'm unemployed. I thought you knew.
Diana's sorry, Peter.
So, are you a cop? Are you a cop? Because you have to tell me. You have to tell me who you are. You have to.
Sarah, he's insane. We should go. These people go nuts and kill people, you know.
I don't think that we should be scared of Peter. He's just scared and upset. You wouldn't hurt us, would you, Peter?
No. I won't hurt you. I won't hurt you. I didn't mean to scare you. So
Peter's acting weird.
what do you keep saying my name? What are you doing here? Are you working for them? You have to tell. You have to tell me.
We're just trying to understand. Okay, can you tell us what's going on, Katie?
I don't know.
Do you think you could come and sit down here next to me?
She's looking at me. She's looking at me with angry eyes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, would you like to sit down? Diana, would you like to sit down too? Remember, you can go back inside at any time. Okay? You seem really scared. Can you tell us what's going on?
It's getting worse. It's getting much worse. I think my doctor's trying to poison me. So the tablets he gives me, they make me easy to control. So I just stopped taking.
Okay, so you've stopped taking your medication.
Oh, of course I did. Would you take pills that are poisoning you? Now they're just talking to me instead. Because they can't get into my mind. They just keep talking and talking. I want to shut up.
Peter, calm down. Will you listen to yourself? It's rubbish. Think about it. There's no such thing as aliens. And the pills you were taking were making you better. And now you stop taking them, you're worse. God, be logical.
Oh, you don't care. You don't care. You don't understand. You don't know. You don't.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you will be. You'll be sorry if they get you. And they get me. Get you too. Because they hear everything.
Do you think you could sit down here?
You're really scared, aren't you?
Of course I am.
Okay, so you feel like you're being watched all the time. That must be really scary.
Yes, it is. Yes.
It's no wonder you're so stressed out. Peter, Sarah and I want to help. Is there something we can do to make you feel better?
No. You can't do anything. Nothing.
We're worried about you, Peter. I'd like to call the crisis team. I think they'd be able to help us out here. What do you think?
I don't trust them. I don't trust them.
Why don't you trust the crisis team?
They'll force me to take my medication again, and no, I'm not.
Well, that's possible. But they'll want to talk to you about more than just your medication. Like they'll try and understand what's going on and try and help you.
They'll protect you from the aliens.
I reckon that the crisis team will come and they'll know what to do and how to help us.
I'll sneak back to my place and call them there.
No, I don't want to stay here. Look, Peter, we've got some options. We could get someone to come out here and talk to you, or we could go to the hospital, or we could just call the crisis team and ask for some advice.
No, I don't like any of those options. I don't want to talk to anyone at all. No one.
Look, I understand. It seems pretty scary. What do you think we should do?
Don't do anything. I didn't ask for your help.
Peter, I'm your friend. If I was as scared and stressed out as you are now, would you want to help me?
Yeah, you've always been. You've always been nice to me. You've helped me with my groceries and around the house and stuff.
Well, what can we do? We need to get some help.
I don't want any help. Don't want any help. Don't.
I understand that you don't want any help, but we're worried about you, and I think that if we don't run with one of the options that we've talked about, then I'll have to call the police.
No cops. Definitely no cops.
Okay.
Definitely no.
Which of the other options do you want to go with?
I don't know. Guess the crisis team. Guess.
Okay. Would you like me to call them here, and then you can listen to what I say?
Yes.
Yeah?
Don't tell them any lies. Don't.
I'll make some tea for us if you like.
Hi, my name's Sarah Marsh. I'm calling about my neighbour Peter.
All right. So what do you guys think?
Blonde couldn't have been less help.
Blonde, yeah.
Don't ever say you're a cop.
So what were some of the things that she did that was not helpful?
She was mocking him in a lot of ways.
Right.
Not taking it seriously when that's a really real and serious situation to the Peter guy. She's making it like, oh, come on, it's not real, and making light of it.
Right. She
Told
was,
him it was rubbish.
yeah, she even said like, be logical. It's like, that's not helpful at all. Yeah.
She wouldn't answer if she was a cop, you know.
She was
avoided
sarcastic.
it. Yeah, and then he asked again because where he was at, he needed to hear something that she's not. And she just didn't even answer, which then increased
Escalated.
it.
Yeah. Increased his, nervousness. And, yeah. What else was not helpful?
She seemed more concerned about her own safety or than genuinely concerned about him.
Yeah.
Even though she was the one who said, I think he's having a problem, and got the other lady who was more qualified, I guess, maybe to help, but
Yeah. Well, he said, he was like, why do you keep saying my name? You know, she was talking about him, you know, when he was right there. But, yeah, so that was kind of, that wasn't helpful for Peter.
She didn't include him in the decisions.
Exactly, yeah. She wasn't including him.
She
in the
wasn't
conversation.
empowering him.
Yeah. But I know it's really easy to pick on her, but what did she do right?
Got help.
She got help.
Yeah.
I also like how her mentality switched. Like she didn't understand the situation, which I think is why she reacted a lot. And then when she kind of realized how serious it was, that was when she like, how can we help you? I thought that was really cool to watch her do like a full 360.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like she wasn't really like educated enough, and I feel like that's how a lot of people are. Like they just think they're like crazy because they don't know like all that we know.
And as you're watching this reaction, I mean, can you see how it is kind of realistic in a lot of ways? Yeah. Yeah.
And then when she said like, these kind of people go out and kill.
Right.
It's kind of like.
Just that comes from a place of ignorance, not knowing. And then, it's kind of disrespectful because he's right there and just talking about him. And so that's
dehumanizing these kind of people. Well, excuse me, this person, whatever his name is right here, Peter.
Right.
So now it's taking, whereas the other person really addressed Peter. What does Peter need?
Right. So what did the older woman? What did she do really well?
Everything.
She's really engaged with him.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
She was understanding, understanding. Like saying like, I understand that this and this and.
she smiled.
Yeah.
She made a major effort to get him outside of the situation he was in, to shift his perspective. And when he wasn't into it, then she came up with, here's some other times when we did this, like she wouldn't let him stay in the house.
She was very persistent.
And then said, we can leave the door open, you can go back in. So she made his choice.
Yeah.
Guided him really strongly.
Yeah.
And also like at the end, like how she gave him an option, like if she was gonna call the cops or what other. Like I thought that was pretty good for that lead him to go get some help instead of just like leaving him there without help.
Yeah, so there's a lot of negotiating and a lot of persistence and at the same time, asking him what he wanted, but also being really strict, especially at the very end. So, doing nothing is not an option. And I really liked how she said, if I was feeling scared, wouldn't you want to help me?
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. Just flipping it around. Yeah. So she was definitely treating him like a human being.
She also never told him that he was wrong, like what he was thinking was wrong. But then also never like played into any of the like the other lady said something about like they'll take the aliens away, but she never.
Right. Yeah. She wasn't even addressing
Right.
his other reality. Yeah. Definitely. She was what?
Just trying to get him help.
Right. Yeah.
And she agreed with his statements, and you seem like, oh, someone gets me, you know.
Mhm.
She just said, oh, okay. You know, she didn't say, no, you're wrong, or that
Yeah.
can't be right. She just agreed.
Yeah, when she
Right.
said that must be scary to feel like you're being watched all the time.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Exactly. Yeah. So good. Yeah, I really like that video. Any other thoughts?
That would suck to be that PETA guy, like to be in that place.
Yeah.
It's go horrible.
Yeah. But he's got some awesome neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this slide just, you
It's
know,
all second hunts.
this comes up, what if the person doesn't want help? And this kind of came up in that situation. And they didn't really let him say no. And so if you have that relationship and you feel like, you know, no, I can't let this person, you know, you can't always resort to the police. Like, you know, I'm going to call the police because I don't want to, I'm concerned about your safety. So that's, and how you say it is going to, you know, sound like a threat or not. So she said it in a very non-threatening way. Just kind of matter of fact. So just remaining patient, friendly, open. They may want your help in the future. So depending on what it is, so maybe it's not, you know, a situation like this, but anything, if any, you know, no matter what the situation is, if someone doesn't want your help, if you feel like they're okay and there's nothing you can really do for them at the moment, and they're not in crisis, then, you know, it's okay to just, or to leave it on a positive note and say, you know, I'm here for you, I really care about you, please, you know, if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to call me or get a hold of me. So let's hear what you guys came up with. Let's go with this group first.
We did a couple of the scenarios.
Okay, choose your favorite one. Where you thought, we totally helped this person, this is like the best.
Oh, okay. All right. So we had a friend whose house burned down in a major fire in their city, and we went to volunteer and help. And we were very concerned because he was very highly stressed about the reaction, and it was ongoing. He continued to be irritable, nervous, and not sleeping very well, and couldn't stop thinking about the fire. So we decided, as far as assessing for risk of suicide harm, that, you know, we would talk to him about it, tell them we're concerned, that we want to help, and try to figure out how to help, and then ask if he has had any suicidal thoughts or thoughts of harming himself. And then just talk to him about the situation, listen, not judgmentally, create stuff.
We decided we were going to suggest professional help, but then I think we decided he didn't want it. Or something like that. I don't know how we got there, but we're like, what if he doesn't want it? So, then we decided that since there were other people in the community that were probably having similar experiences, that we would try and maybe start a support group. Because maybe that might be enough since it's a recent tragedy, as opposed to getting professional help. That might be a good first step in this circumstance.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Since it's such a small local community, it seemed like it might be easier to put together such a thing.
Yeah.
It seems like, too, like, with the timeline, like, it's super recent, that, like, if he was feeling these feelings, like, consistently all the time, 24/7 for weeks, like, then you would maybe make that step of, like, suggesting professional help, but because it was like, this just happened, you lost everything, it seems like maybe a good first step before potentially, like, throwing them professional is just like a nice, like, hey, like, maybe we can talk to support group, get the community together, see what everyone's doing and pull our resources together.
Yeah, that's great. That's like a nice prevention strategy because you're intervening, but you're not saying, hey, you need professional help.
It's
Because
kind
it
of
hasn't
a
even
normal
been
reaction.
that long. Right.
Everyone's probably going through a similar thing. So.
Yeah. Awesome job, you guys.
Thanks.
This group?
Okay.
Which one?
Yeah, they were all so good.
Sure.
I liked the one that you guys did when I was talking about my situation, because there were so many different dynamics. Okay.
Yeah.
So we had Jason, who is a farmer. He's married. He's got a couple of kids. The farm is not providing or doing so well. He's struggling with feeling like he can't provide for his family. He's been self-medicating with drinking, and he occasionally gets in his car and drives while he's been drinking. So his wife called in concerned.
And he has 3 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we talked about, I guess at the end, kind of focusing on the family unit and just kind of helping encourage help, because he seemed to be managing his issues somewhat healthily, and I don't know, he was drinking a lot, but he wasn't really harming anybody, but kind of
Self-harm.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the first thing they asked was, if there was any safety concerns or risk of harm. She mentioned that, he's doing the drinking and driving. They asked if there's anything that, any steps that I take to try and, what happens when those situations come up. I mentioned that I don't try and physically stop him because I don't, not because I'm afraid of him, but I can't physically stop him. And they did listen non-judgmentally. They were compassionate and mentioned that they understood what, I understand that must be really difficult for you to go through. They offered different group therapies, AA resources. The one I liked the best that they mentioned when they asked, what kind of impact is this having on your kids? And I said, well, he's not violent with the kids or abusive, but he is loud and he is yelling, and it's scary for them. And they see their dad drinking so much, and they suggested that, maybe we also look into getting the kids into some therapy to help them deal with what they're seeing. Yeah.
Okay. And then one thing I would add too is, that the G step. A lot of times that can get overlooked. The give reassurance and information, and it's different than giving information about professional help, or like giving information about some strategies. I like the reassurance part, and sometimes just saying gosh, that must be really hard what you're going through. And the listening non-judgmentally is part of that too, but the reassurance, wow, it really makes sense that you'd be feeling this way, you'd be feeling really sad about it. So that's a really good step.
Because we were thanks for calling us.
Yeah, they did mention that, and I was just I just didn't know where else to turn. And they said, well, it's a good thing that you call us if you're having difficulties with stuff like that. That's why we're here.
And
so
he feels supported
and that
by
he feels
you,
supported by you, and you're doing all the right
Nice.
things. So
Yeah.
they were good at that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sweet. Yay. Scoop.
I think I'm just gonna read the whole thing. We kind of talked about how would we help this person. So you are worried that your best friend Sue is having suicidal thoughts. Your friend is suffering from depression. She has told you she is having trouble taking her medication and going to the therapy session that has been arranged for her. You notice that Sue has become withdrawn from you and other friends and is starting to neglect responsibilities. She has become extremely moody and has strong emotions of guilt and anger. She is complaining more about aches and pains, and becoming extremely anxious, and seems to have a complete lack of energy. So one thing I said is that because it says that she is having trouble with the therapy is not working, maybe I would suggest her to go look for somebody else, because maybe that person is not a fit for her, and she probably is not telling him or her whatever she's feeling, everything that she's feeling.
So for some reason it's not a good fit.
Yeah, so maybe trying somebody else, and also with her medication, commit to calling her or going to visit to her that the time that she has to take it, just so to help her out, to remind her to drink her medication so she doesn't stop completely, so she can stop feeling like that.
And also that us and the other friends, because it says there that us and the other friends are concerned about her, and just telling her that we're all concerned and that we're willing to help her, not just one of us, all of us, and just giving her that reassurance that we're all here for her. And also having, because she doesn't have a plan for suicide. She hasn't attempted to do it, so but still checking up on her and just being there for her.
And also encourage her to do outside activities like a walk or like invite her to take a coffee
Sure, yeah.
with us.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Right, to get out, do other things,
So she can,
socialize.
Yeah, socialize
Yeah.
because of the depression, and I mean that will get her like her mind kind of out of the way of that, and she'll start thinking about other things because she's doing whatever the activities we're inviting her to do with us, and maybe she'll feel more relieved because she's actually doing more things than just staying home and thinking about her depression.
Nice. Good job, you guys. I heard all of those, all the ALDI steps.
Yeah, you all did a great job.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is, it's good to just like read these different scenarios. And just thinking about like, oh, how would I react if this was happening and if I knew somebody you just never know how you're going to react. So it's kind of good to just imagine different scenarios. So I handed out a couple things. One is allergy card. Allergy card, but it also has a few great resource numbers on the back. So this might be helpful. If you are on the crisis line and someone maybe is talking about mental illness, you can say, have you talked to Sierra Mental Wellness Group? There's these other hotlines too if you're like with somebody and say they are in Placer County and maybe it's not like DV or domestic violence, sexual assault related. There's these other crisis line numbers and they might have more resources that are instead of if someone's in an abusive relationship. So that's that card. And then there's an evaluation I sent out, or that I handed out. That's something that I have to turn into mental health first aid. And then the last thing, the other thing I need from you guys is the demographic form. And let's see. Oh, would anybody like a manual that has lots of really good information? Okay, great. So I only have, there's 4 right now. Does anyone need it tonight?
Because you have to order them. So whoever wants them, we can order them and I can get them to you guys.
You will get them eventually. Does anyone want it right now?
Don't be shy, guys.
That's fine,
I would love to write that paper on this.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks. Okay, and then how does everybody else want one? Let's just give everybody else one.
Just do the whole process.
Oh, okay.
I took 11 minutes.
Okay.
I know you're on it, Greta.
5, right?
Okay.
Oh, and there's other people though.
Yeah.
So I think as a class, so there's 14.
Yes.
So minus how?
4 people missing.
I would say another 6.
Okay. And since the other people are going to watch the video, I guess I'll just count them as certified, yeah. All right, and the very last thing, before you get certified, you have to take a test. It's actually a quiz, but I don't know what the
Don't
difference
worry, you
is.
can't fail, guys.
Don't tell them that up front.
Sorry. But I understand people testing, like, don't hurry over a wall.
Do you guys want to do this quiz on your own or as a class?
As a class. Told ya. We were so over.
You guys all, yes.
We should do this class for the video too.
Yeah, yes, that's a good point. All right, so
Australian.
Jessica, want to go ahead and read number 1?
Your best friend was a victim of physical assault some years ago and has since been diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. You're with her when she breaks into a sweat, doubles over as if in pain, and starts to hyperventilate. Do you A, move with your friend to a quiet place, reassure her, and help her to slow her breathing? B, give her some time alone because giving her attention during these episodes will only encourage similar future behavior? C, take her somewhere quiet and help her calm down over a cup of coffee or tea. Gently point out that her attacker is long gone and her fears are unfounded.
Hey. Hey. Woo!
That was
Mariah, you want to read number 2?
Yeah, you notice that a family friend who is a college sophomore has been functioning less well as the school year progresses. At the beginning of the semester, she was vibrant and seemed to enjoy her classes. Now she has clearly lost weight, seems depressed, had a hard time paying attention, expresses odd ideas sometimes when you talk with her, and seems to have lost her motivation. Do you A, tell her she needs substance abuse treatment? Tell her she needs substance abuse treatment and you are sorry she succumbed to the drinking and drugs that are all too common at most colleges. B, suggest that she get academic counseling or tutoring to help her get back on track. Or C, express your concern and offer to help her get an appointment at the college counseling center or other services. C. Okay.
Sorry. Becca.
Your close friend has used marijuana regularly since high school and drinks occasionally. Lately, she has seemed preoccupied with both substances, as well as confused and anxious. In fact, she seems to have undergone a significant personality change. Do you A, tell her you're concerned about her and the changes in her behavior you've noticed, ask her to talk with you about these changes? B, tell her to quit drinking because alcohol dulls your thinking while marijuana is a natural substance that doesn't interfere with brain function. C, tell her that she has a drug problem and you cannot see her again until she has gotten it under control. I'm doing
You are outside the preschool waiting to collect your child when you notice another adult behaving strangely. He's walking in circles and having a heated argument with someone who isn't there. Do you A, ignore him? He's not your problem as long as he doesn't come anywhere near your child. B, assess the situation for risk of harm to yourself or others. If needed, encourage others not to be confrontational with him. If you feel safe and able to approach him non-confrontationally, ask if he's okay and what help he might need. Consider notifying school personnel. Or C, approach him directly, standing squarely in front of him and making clear eye contact. Put your hand on his shoulder and be assertive, telling him that he needs to leave the area.
Okay, you are concerned about a coworker who has been difficult lately. His work is suffering and he has been missing deadlines. On a few occasions over the past month, he has called in sick when he seems okay by the afternoon before. Last night at happy hour, where he is usually the life of the party, he was quiet and consumed drink after drink by himself. This morning, he calls in sick and tells you that he can't take the pressure and is considering resigning. You tell him you have noticed that his frequent absences and missed deadlines have been hard on his coworkers and maybe this job is just not a good fit. B, tell him that you are concerned about him and ask him if he can talk more about the pressure he is feeling. Try to make plans to meet him that day for lunch to continue the conversation in person. C, tell him that based on what you have seen at happy hours, he has a problem and should quit drinking. B.
Hey Danielle. Alright. You're at home watching your favorite movie when your ex calls, sounding really upset and talking about wanting to kill him or herself. Do you end the call quickly? This is not your problem. People who threaten suicide rarely go through with it. Your ex can take care of themselves. You are no longer together. Ask your ex if they have a plan or made any prior suicide attempts, and consider if they have the resources to attempt suicide now. Discuss ways they can stay safe, such as calling a suicide hotline, a mental crisis team, or 911. Or ask how they intend to kill themselves. If your ex doesn't have a plan, they're probably not serious, and so you can go back to your movie without worry.
It could be A if you think he's gonna come to your house and you're in danger.
Sure.
But he's killing himself.
Yeah.
Well, 911, I guess you would want to call 911 too. If he's gonna come to your house.
You're an advocate, do we?
Yes, if you're an advocate. Yes, go for it.
Colleague seems to have lost all pride in his appearance and enthusiasm for life. His speech is sluggish, he's sad all the time, and he's recently given away several favorite office recessions. Do you A, ask if there's anything he'd like to talk about and try to find out if he seems depressed or has had any thoughts about ending his life. B, keep the conversation light, avoiding any discussion of suicide or death. He is upset enough already and you wouldn't want to put the idea in his head. C, take him out for a good drink and send him home in a cab. Alcohol is a stimulant and can help someone snap out of a funk.
Hey. You ready? Number 8.
You're at a party when one of the guests becomes violent. She has a knife and it's obvious that she's responding to voices only she can hear. A. Try to gain her trust by pretending you can hear the voices too. Agree with everything she says until you can get close enough to take the knife away from her. B. Take her down physically by whatever means possible and have someone call the police. Call 911 while you're waiting for the police and mental health crisis team to arrive. Turn off the music and encourage people not to confront her or get too close. Make sure your exit is not blocked. Perhaps speak calmly to her, but not argue with her.
Okay. You get along well with your neighbor, but her mood swings and love of partying are wearing thin. She can go without sleep for days and expect everyone else to do the same. Coming up with poorly thought or project and becoming annoyed at anyone less than enthusiastic about them. On other days, she rarely leaves her house or say hello. Number 8, try to catch her in one of her quieter moments and share with her that you are concerned about her moods. Encourage her to see her physical and offer to go alone if she wishes. B. Distance yourself from her. She might be a lot of fun at times, but you shouldn't invest time and energy in the relationship, as her split personality is driving for both of you. B. Be direct with her about her unrealistic project and lifestyle. You can only help her by forcing her to conform her obvious mental illness.
Sure. Number 10. When you see your niece at Thanksgiving, she appears to have lost a great deal of weight. She says she is working on a project for school and takes her plate of turkey and trimmings to her room. You go up to see her later and notice she has not touched her dinner. Do you A. Compliment her on her self-control during such a high-calorie opportunity? These answers kill me. And tell her she looks great. Encourage her to keep it up. B. Engage her in conversation, maybe asking how school is going. Mention that you notice her weight loss, are concerned, and tell her that you're there for her if there's ever anything she wants to talk about. C, you know she is a 4.0 student, so it's okay to leave her alone to concentrate on her schoolwork. I'm gonna say B. That's what the answer says.
100% everybody! And it's celebration time.
And we're all gonna do a picture with y'all's certificate.
All right. Starting the group off, if you want.
You're the graduation.